Well, hi again. This is Brian Knight from Pragmatic Works, and I'm here with Mac, our company mascot, and Tim, our COO. And today we're going to talk about some of the mistakes and some of the good things about finding business partners.
Yeah.
Tim, when I first found you about 5 years ago, you were in prison, and
Hey, I was on furlough.
so we had some interesting partner experiences before we met. And let's talk about some of the mistakes and positive things that you and I have found over the years when kind of finding new partners.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic. Let's whiteboard it.
Let's go whiteboard.
Yeah.
So Tim, Mac has actually approached us about being a business partner, and as time goes on, we've been approached quite often about bringing other partners in and whatnot. So when you and I first got together, we have been through a lot of companies, a lot of pain that we've been through also.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of lessons that we learned about bringing partners in and what to do there and what not to do. So what are some of the lessons that we learned around that?
Well, first of all, if Matt came to me, I'd be the first guy to sign on to that business.
I'm on board already. Yes.
Good girl, Matt. Well, I'll tell you what. Getting into business is a fun thing. It's a tricky thing, but it's also can be a very, very painful thing. So a lot of these points that we have here on the board are things that we want to share with you that you might want to look out for. Because what I found is that as we start businesses with people, they always start with enthusiasm. They usually start on a napkin over a few beers with somebody with an idea.
Over lunch, you look with someone you work with maybe, and you're like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it, right, with all the optimism and enthusiasm that two people can share. And typically, there's a complementary relationship, something that, where there's a technical person and there's a sales and marketing person, two different types of skill sets that are required to get a business going. Finance guy, yeah.
So the first thing really is it is really hard to do.
Right.
It's easy on a napkin, right?
Right.
It's very, very easy. And one of the things that you told me early on was I don't like to work with people that are doing this part-time. They're part-timing a business.
Right.
So if you are going in together, you need to go full
we're
all in.
That's a very good point, Brian. Yeah, that can happen today, especially since there's so many technologies that can allow people to do things while they're at their day job. That a lot of people, when they start a business, want to try to remove the risk by saying, hey, look, I can use web meetings and I can do them at lunch, so let's go do this, and we'll go ahead and get the business off the ground without taking risk. And I found that over 11 times in my life that is an absolute failure.
Well, especially if one person is in it full time. Like you were in it full time selling our products, like Piece of Change when we first started.
Yep.
And I was doing consulting or doing other stuff on the side, and that would never have worked out.
Yeah.
You would eventually become resentful for me and not really like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What typically happens in that case is that one, you don't have your heart and soul into this business. That it's got to be, if you're going to be in a business partnership, you have to have equal risk and equal reward, and that everybody's in it together. No, don't get into business if you're going to be the full-time guy. Don't be into business with a bunch of folks that are part-time.
Well, the second thing is about complementation of each other. So we have in our consulting company, for example, there's 4 of us, and we all fit different types of personality roles, and we all fit different kinds of things that really are really interesting to me. I mean, you're a good guy at operations, at making sure, auditing the reports and making sure they actually, that our numbers are what they say they are, that the finance side is looking good. I feel like I'm better on the software side, the technology side, and the marketing side.
Yep.
And we have other guys that are better in other things that we're not good at either. So those are things that I think is really, really interesting as well, is making sure that you don't have just the 2 guys doing exactly the same thing. You want 2 guys that are kind of slightly different.
Oh, it's absolutely required. And not only in our relationship, you're right, it has gone from where, I was the person who had to follow up and get trials and downloads and so on and so forth and close that business. But as we grew, right, we had to complement each other in different ways.
Right.
And so as we're innovating technology, for example, I may be the curmudgeon a little bit and say, hey, look,
get on my nerves, it's under my skin sometimes.
Brian is a very creative guy, and he has very good ideas on a daily basis. But in order to get some regularity into our business, some routine into our business, and scale in our business, we've got to be able to manage those ideas. And that's sort of the way we complement each other.
Yeah, and that's one of the things you mentioned to me early on also. When you first joined the company, you just didn't want a handout. We haven't read this up here, but you wanted to actually earn your shares. And it's really tempting when you are sitting at that bar or sitting at that lunch to say, all right, how about we start this company? I'm going to bring you in also, and we'll just line in the sand. We'll make 50-50.
Yeah, that's bad idea, especially in the way we met each other, right? Because you had already made an investment. You had an existing business. You had already invested in the technology being developed and so on. So you were up and running about 4 or 5 months before I came along. I, at that point in time, had no right to any shares in your business until I had earned that. So I would say, in the case of starting a business and what you do with shares up front, if in fact it's starting from scratch and there's cash going in with
It's a whole different animal.
right? If you've got equal risk, you have equal reward, and just keep that in mind. Never, yeah.
Right. So what we did is we went ahead and said, all right, if Tim sells X level, then he gets X percent.
That's right.
And he killed it, of course.
And if I could go back in time, I would have got another 10.
So that worked really, really well in our case. So and it made it where he earned his keep and I earned my keep and everybody's happy, which takes us to our next level.
Yeah.
Really, it's passion versus poison. Now we've seen this a lot as business partners, whether it be employees or whether it be other business partners in some cases.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it's very important because you're going to be challenged with it on a daily basis. Of course, in every business, now that we've grown and we have 70 to 100 employees that are now working with us globally, you're always on a daily basis going to have some form of complaint, right? In the form of business partnership, the folks who are in our business now with us, such as Adam and Sam and Rob and Ryan, you may find that they're talking to you about things that they want to have done in the business too. So you've got a big group of people, you're trying to find consensus, and it may aggravate you. At the end of the day, look at what they're requesting. And if they're requesting something that talks about improving the business, then I call that passion. If they're talking about something that says, I, me, my, mine, I need this, this is me, I did this is mine, you start hearing that, that's poison. And that's where you need to deal with those folks.
Right.
Because if they become poison, you start getting that negative influence in a partnership, it's a bad
Or
thing.
my problem is this person.
Right.
That's definitely poison, and that could ultimately ruin your business.
That's right, yeah. Just like
Plant the seed.
as Eleanor Roosevelt said, small minds talk about people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And great mind, yeah, exactly.
Great minds talk about innovation. Yeah.
Exactly. So, which takes us to our last piece. Let's imagine there is a person that's a poisonous person and is about I, me, my, and all that. And the person's destroying your company ultimately, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, you may, as you are starting that right business partner, you want to think about when things are all good, and we're all like having a beer, we're all slapping on the back, and the times are happy. You want to start thinking about the bad times also. You want that prenup, basically.
That's right.
Agreement, right?
And it's easiest to put these things in place and fairness in place as well. You're going to bring balance here. This isn't about trying to get somebody. This is about taking advantage of the upfront, everybody's enthusiastic, everybody has the same interest in mind. And when that happens, that's the best point in time to say, what if things go poorly? How do we want to manage a buyout? How would we look at valuations? What sort of formula would we want to have in place? And it's best to have that in place when people are happy so that when people are into the poison mode, you've got a way to address it.
Right, that usually comes in form of a shareholder agreement of some sort.
Yep.
And it's not, you want a great valuation, like you said. Like, so we would say something like our company, our software company is 10x or 5x or whatever that number is of our earnings for the past 6 months multiplied by 2 or something like that.
Yeah, hundreds of ways to evaluate.
Hundreds of ways of evaluating it, cash on hand, whatever you decide to do. But you have a number of clauses saying, hey, if Tim is just tired of me, he wants to get out, this is the clause that allows Tim to get out.
Right.
This is not about an investor coming in and trying to buy your company out.
That's
this is about just us having a fair valuation up front and knowing the ground rules up front.
And it's an excellent thing to do to put in the shareholder agreement because what that does is, if in fact it's in the shareholder agreement, it affects all the partners. So you're not going to be looking at a way to try to get one partner. You're going to be putting it in the shareholder agreement, which would affect all. So even in this case, Brian, where you're the owner, you get poisonous, and if there's enough of a vote on the board to say, hey, listen, Brian's gone crazy, for example, we would have a way to manage that Brian agreed to that said, okay, Brian's lost his mind.
Right.
This is the way to get rid of it.
Yeah, that shareholder agreement is really, really important because it also is going to entail things like if I own 50% of the company, and if I own 50% of the company, or 51%, screw you guys. I'm going to do whatever I want. So I'm going to go ahead and take a loan from the company, or I'm going to go ahead and sell the company.
Buy a Ferrari.
And make it a lifestyle company when I have 100 employees sitting there, those kind of things. So there's some pieces of that shareholder agreement you want to make sure aren't just 51% of share votes, but maybe things that are like 66, requires 2/3 of the actual people voting on. So
it's a great point. And you don't want to get too contractual up front, but you're making a very good point that shareholder agreement in that corporation is very, very important. It's best to outline term by term by term in the beginning so that because you will. If you are going to get into business with anybody, you're going to have bad days. You're going to have tension. You're going to have points where there isn't enough money and there may need to be money back or whatever. Or you might have too many profits. You never know. But there will be tension in that business, and upfront, line by line, detail on that shareholder agreement.
Absolutely, because most partnerships are ultimately going to fail.
Right.
So you want to make sure up front that you have a way to to dissolve that partnership or,
Yeah.
or get remarried to somebody else if you have to.
That's right. And if you're going to be into business as a partner, you don't want to have it so that any single person can actually dictate what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one last thing about that also, you want to make sure if I bring you with a partner, you can't sell your shares to a competitor perhaps.
Right.
Or to the company. We want to make sure that those shares stay in the family also.
Right.
So
Yep.
all part of the shareholder agreement, all really, really important pieces. Well, Tim, thank you so much for bringing us
Yeah, I
up
hope this
today.
was helpful as well. And thanks, Brian.
Absolutely.